Good morning, students. Today we are going to take up part B of directing chapter, that is motivation as an element of directing. Now the basic question comes, what is motivation? And you could see in the image the man is being screwed by somebody. Whenever we are stimulating a person to do a particular work or to move in a particular direction, we are motivating him. And this motivation involves three integral elements. What is the intensity of that stimulation? What is the direction? And what is the persistence? All the three has to move together, and depending upon the situation, the importance of each of the three might vary from case to case. Now, next you could see, even though it seems to be very clumsy initially, that the thing that we had said in the previous slide, activation, persistence, intensity, they have to work together. And you can motivate a person if and only if there are two P's existing. Two P's existing means either there is a pain of losing something or a pleasure of gaining something. So we say we motivate through two P's. And in the next diagram that you are seeing, that the goal, attitude, idea, your performance, your supporting system, and the success that you are looking for, they all have a cumulative impact on your motivation. They all have a cumulative impact on your motivation. In a simple layman's language, if we say, merely teaching a child is of no use unless and until the child is motivated in the sense what would be the output of it. If you explain the child the benefit of studying in his life, he would be propelled towards giving performance to his best possible potential. Now, if we see the features of motivation, it is an internal feeling which exists in a very latent form, and somebody has to literally drive it out. For example, you might have a desire for a car, for a house, or something else depending upon your age factor. So this has to be an internal thing which will be later on driven by somebody or some instincts, I'll say. Second, it is always goal directed behavior. If you are motivated for something, what is the impact of it? What is the direction of it? If an employee is interested in promotion, definitely what happens? She or he, I'll not be gender specific here, she or he would try to improve his or her performance to the level best possible, capabilities of his own. The third thing is motivation could be positive, could be negative. And the grid that you could see over here, that we have taken on one side positive, other side negative, then extrinsic and intrinsic. Intrinsic within you and extrinsic something from outside being pumped into you. Right? Now, positive is everybody wants to have a better lifestyle, better pay, promotion, recognition. That is positive. And negative is punishment, fear of losing the job, cutting off increments, scolding. And we have put it into 4 grids. 4 sections: desire, fear, reward, threat. We say motivation is a complex process. You could see the man literally puzzled. And here, with the problem, you have to think smart. You have to think smart. Uniform pattern of motivation may not satisfy all the people who are having individual differences. I can put it in a simple way that when a teacher is scolding a child, you are good for nothing, you cannot do anything, and there are 40 to 50 students sitting in the class, the impact might be different on different students. Somebody might be disheartened. I am good for nothing. My madam told me I could not do anything, so finished. No need of even trying. Somebody might take it as a challenge that she has told me I am good for nothing. I'll prove her that what I am worth. So you have taken it in a positive approach and you are working hard to show. I'm sorry to say, with the negative mentality of the people, the other person, in the sense, the teacher on the other platform, is always in a win-win position. If the child is not performing properly, you will say, I told na he is not good for anything. And when he is performing, you would say, see, I scolded him, the thing pinched out, and he has worked hard. This is why I intentionally scolded him. Both the ways you justify yourself. But you need to think that the same medicine might have different reaction on different people. So, once you are taking an act of motivation, what would be the impact of it? You need to analyze, and it's a complex process. Now, seeing the characteristics that we have done, we can say that in motivation, what happens? A common saying is you can take the horse to the riverside, but drinking water is the desire of the horse. No one can make you to do what you want or you don't want, in fact. Okay? So inner drive is very important. If you are willing to work hard, there are 10 people to help you in 100 ways. But if you are not willing to, even if the God of knowledge, God Brihaspati, comes down, he cannot teach you. Right? Come down to motivation as a process. Motivation as a process. It all starts with desire, what you could see in the diagram in the green form. What we say, it is an internal feeling. Something which says, it would have been nice if this thing would have happened. So it's a desire within you. And now what happens when I intensify that desire? It becomes a need. That now you cannot survive without this. So by hook or crook, you have to do this. So your desire is converted into need. And automatically when you are desperate for something that you cannot survive without it, it is a part of your life. Tension is created. You become tensed. Now what happens when you are tensed? Your mind will drive in all the directions and your search engines of the brain will start working on various options. How to get it. And what the common saying goes, that if you are desperate, Mother Nature will help you from all the directions to satisfy that, whether good or bad. Mother Nature will help you. So once you achieve, you are satisfied. Now once you are satisfied, it is a continuous process. We say motivation is a continuous process. So what is the next process? Our next higher level, need dominates, right? For example, if we say initially it was a car, that we said that it's a desire that if you have your own car, your moving time up and down to office would be reduced. Then when you every time find that you're getting nagging from your boss, getting late, waiting for the local buses, it becomes a desperate requirement, converting into need. Now you become tensed. You start thinking in different options. Your search engine works out how to take loan from the company, how to get your finance sanctioned. Then you buy it and you're satisfied. You're satisfied. You've got the car. Now what happens? It's not finished. The story is not over. Now you feel every time in a rented house, I have to go with different sort of tussles with my landlord. So why not have my own home? So your next higher level need of having your own home or bungalow starts. And again the cycle continues. Right? So this is why we say that motivation is a continuous process. It is a continuous process. Now, there are many theories being developed. There are many theories being developed on this motivation. But for your syllabus of class 12 CBSE, you are only supposed to take up one, that is Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Maslow's need hierarchy theory of motivation. As you could see in the pyramid on the two sides, one side the element written and second side the diagram. Your physiological need of food, clothing, shelter, and nowadays we include education also as one of the basic need. Then safety and security with the umbrella. Then social need with that heart sign of loving. Then esteem need of status, and then self-fulfillment of actualization. We'll take one by one all of them. We'll take one by one all of them. Now, coming to physiological needs. Food, clothing, shelter, rest, it's basic need. Once this is satisfied, it's a human tendency, your safety, security, that today I am getting meals 2 times a day. Will I be continuing with the same or not? So, or today I have a shelter on my head. What about tomorrow? So these sort of fear, they dominate in the form of safety, security needs. And once you are secured on this need, your psychological need, you will see that we have moved to psychological need. And most of you get confused, I'm sorry to say, but my students from Bihar and Jharkhand, they get confused in physiological, psychological. Physiological is basic need, physical related need. And psychological is mind related, emotion related. So, belongingness and love need is, now we see, we were there with the psychological need. I'm sorry for the interruption. Belongingness and love is social need. Nobody wants to be nagged. Nobody wants to nag somebody. We all want to love. and in return be loved. So a sense of belongingness is required. Simply we say how we work out with our neighbors, that part. Then esteem need. Esteem need. Here your status or ego counts in the form of prestige and a sense of accomplishment. And last but not the least, but very few reach that stage. Very few reach that stage is the stage of achieving what others are not aware of. What others are not aware of. That is self-actualization, giving one's full potential. Giving one's full potential. Now, we go with basic assumptions in this, that only those needs are to be taken for influencing your behavior which is not being satisfied. Which is not being satisfied. And unless a lower order need is met, higher order need cannot be taken up. Higher order need cannot be taken up. Then, as we said, self-actualization is the highest level of the need that is to be taken up. There are certain exceptions where hierarchy is not required. It's not necessary that we need to move layer by layer. Under normal condition, we say unless and until the lower need is not met, higher needs will not be taken care of. But there are exceptions where people with artistic blend of mind, your painter, singer, and people with entrepreneur blend of mind. You'll find Munshi Premchand is the best example, could not afford his basic necessities, but worked hard for his writings which had to come out. So there are people of this sort for whom the initial needs doesn't matter. Their accomplishment of what people could not even understand in terms of what they're going to give as an output dominates. Now students, your NCERT has taken this Maslow's need at two pedestals, at individual level, at organizational level. So when I say basic physiological need, which comes in the form of food and clothing, shelter at individual level, is satisfied by the organization through basic salary. Then safety security comes through stability of income by individual. It's only when you're continuing with the job you can think about. And at organizational level, various pension plans, provident fund, gratuity, which is being provided, works out. Then the sense of belongingness, social need, comes at individual level from your neighbors, friends, and in the organizational level from your relationship with the colleagues. Then esteem need, where your ego comes. The job title is given by the organization and it takes the shape of status symbol. You will find people after retirement also would be putting out retired chief engineer, retired or IS officer. It's all what? Stigma of the status, even when you left the job. And self-actualization, last but not the least, is fulfillment of your own missions and desires, and organization is only going to give you a platform. So we end up with the Maslow's need hierarchy. Now next we come to how we motivate people, and it is through incentives. It is through incentives, and incentive is something which stimulates a person to do certain activity. It's something to stimulate. It is broadly classified into two: financial incentives, non-financial. Usually you'll find at the lower level needs of Maslow, that is basic safety and to some extent social also, is financial incentive, and from the social it overlaps to non-financial incentives. So social esteem, self-actualization, you don't do everything for money. So there, non-financial needs or incentives, they dominate. We'll be taking up one by one incentives of financial area. As you could see, the first one is pay and allowances, which is the basic thing. Whatever remuneration or salary package you are giving along with the allowances, that is your house rent allowances, your medical allowances and so on, comes in the form of pay and allowances. Then productivity linked wage system is second, directly linking the payment with the performance. Remember, in Taylor's technique, we had done differential wage rate plan. That is the best example of this. The more you work, the more you get. Next is third, bonus, which is generally given at lower level. It is generally given at lower level. Then stock option, what we say is stock, employee stock option scheme, where we are giving out shares to our employees, and there is a lock-in period depending upon the company's agreement with the employees. Then is profit sharing, where you share in the form of cash, right? Both stock and profit, they can be converted into cash. Only thing is, in stock you are making the person a member. By giving him shares, you are making that person a member of the company. Then I put star mark in perquisite because there are certain controversies over here. In the case study, when you get, you have to see to it very carefully. Whatever benefits we are giving to the employees, benefits. For example, railway is giving free movement to the employees, or for teachers ward, free education to two of their children in the school, or if an organization is having its hospital, to the employee and the dependents of the employee, they are giving free medical facilities. So these facilities which you are providing is perquisite. A simple thing, a company may have its own school where free of cost your children are allowed to study. Now you say, no, I don't want to send my child in that school because right from peon to CMD, everybody's child is studying in that school. I want to get my child admitted in some boarding school. And you say, I want a financial reimbursement of that. You will not get. You will not get. Right? But where medical allowances of the nature, where we have site offices where schools are not there, our own hospitals are not there. There, if the candidate or the employee is going for treatment, we reimburse their bills. And last but not the least, the biggest benefit which comes in the form of retirement benefit. For government employees, it was in the form of pension, and now people have their own, or the companies also introduce their own group insurance and pension schemes in the form of retirement benefits. So these are your financial incentives. Now we come. Non-financial incentives, that is first the status. For example, if I say you are chief something of the organization, that chief, or some people they take pride in carrying the dress code and the I card of the organization. They say, with this, nobody will stop me even in traffic. This is the reputation you carry for your organization. So it is the status symbol. You belong to this organization. Then is second, organizational culture. I'm sorry to say, some of the reference books and others, they use the word climate. Climate is not a good nomenclature. Climate, we talk about physical part. Culture. Every organization has its own culture. And if the employees are happy having their own gala time, they will work. But the culture of the organization is cool, calm, friendly. There's no leg pulling, no dirty politics. You enjoy. So provide a good organization culture, people will enjoy. So that is the biggest non-financial incentive. It includes both physical and non-physical, that is mental part when I'm talking about the culture. Next, third is career advancement. Who doesn't want to move up? Is that growth opportunity there in the organization for the employee? And if yes, the employee is motivated to work in your organization. Then is job enrichment. Please, I have given a note, do not get confused. Job enrichment is different from job enlargement. Job enrichment is adding quality in your job. A teacher has to teach with blackboard and white chalk or color chalk, or with smart board, or with other latest methods of teaching. Whereas job enlargement is increasing the periphery of your work. Increasing the periphery of your work. Job enlargement is not there in the syllabus, so I have not taken out. Otherwise, that is also an incentive. You are as a teacher working in the academic part as well as you are being pulled out into the administration part also. So your work area has been enlarged. Next, fifth is employees recognition. Who doesn't want his work to be recognized? Only thing is, please tell that I have worked hard from my side. I don't want any money from you. That itself is more than enough for most of the employees. Then, job security. You find in the government employees, why people leave their good private jobs and come down to government job, because they feel there's more of job security over there. That umbrella itself shows security against all the odd weather conditions. If it is sunny, it saves you from sunstroke. If it is rainy, from rain. So, job security is also a non-financial incentive. Employees participation. When I involve my employees in taking decision, one is only taking suggestion. I take your suggestion, but I do what I want to do. And when I say I'm including you in decision making, your participation, then you feel it is your work and you will try your level best to achieve it. And then is employees empowerment. Empowerment means I'm giving you this right to move and give the best. That means you are on a roller coaster ride, thinking about the best about the company and trying to give whatever you can give your best, because there is more autonomy here. Powers are given to you. With this, I'll conclude with the incentive part. what you could see on the slide. Financial, I again recapitulate: pay allowances, productivity linked wage incentive, bonus, profit sharing, co-partnership stock option, retirement benefit, perquisite. Non-financial is status, organizational climate, which should be culture in a better word, I'm sorry. Uh, Career advancement, job enrichment, employees recognition, job security, employees participation, and employees empowerment. Now, I've intentionally put non-financial in blue because we say blue-collar employees at higher level. So at higher level, your non-financial incentives dominate. And green is the grassroots level people, so we need this. Now with this, we come to the end. Motivation, and the gist is motivation is creating a positive attitude that please cut down that T and say I can do it rather than saying I can't do it. Thank you very much.